In part one of our Failing Forward series, we talked about why failure is a normal part of innovation and entrepreneurship. But we also pointed out that there are two types of failure, what we call bad failure and good failure. We said that bad failure is where you spend lots of time and money developing a product or service idea you came up with without really knowing if anyone else, meaning potential customers, think it's a good idea also. Good failure is all about designing cheap experiments where you test your ideas intelligently and efficiently before spending a lot of resources on it. If you design your experiments well, very often you'll learn that your idea needs a lot more work than you thought, but at least you didn't spend too much time, effort, and money to find out. Instead, your experiment helps you learn very early on what you need to change or do differently to keep moving forward with your project. This is where understanding the difference between a fact and a hypothesis becomes really important. Let's take a look at what we mean. Just as a reminder, this is the second part of our series, Failing Forward. So why do we call it Failing Forward? Well, innovation and entrepreneurship is all about trying new things and taking smart risks. When you do that, you often find out that what you thought was going to work really doesn't. When you find out something doesn't work, you might treat it as a failure. But what you choose to do with this failure makes all the difference in the world. Failing forward is all about replacing the word failure in our vocabulary with the words learning opportunity. Let's explore this a bit more. If you remember, we defined bad failure as creating a product or service that no one wants to buy. We describe how someone gets an idea in their head about a product or service they're thinking about that they think is really cool. They immediately start to develop it and try to sell it, only to discover no one else thinks it's such a great idea. This idea in your head that you think is cool is what we call a hypothesis. And the road to bad failure is making big important decisions based only on a hypothesis. So let's spend a few minutes discussing the difference between facts and hypotheses. By the way, when we use the word hypotheses, we can just as easily use the words assumption, guess, belief, or hunch. But we'll get to that a little later. Also, the word hypotheses ending in es is simply the plural of the word hypothesis ending in is. A fact is a piece of information that is correct or true, and you know because it's backed up or proven by hard evidence. So when our cute little brothers, Timmy and Billy, tell their mom that they clean up their rooms nicely, are their statements facts? Well, we actually don't know because we have no evidence that backs up their statements as true. Actually, mom creates a hypothesis when she thinks to herself, I bet they didn't clean their rooms. It's a thought, an assumption on her part, a guess based on a long history with Timmy and Billy. But she doesn't really have any facts to back up that feeling or thought. So mom goes and checks the rooms. What do we know now? Well, we now have the evidence that Timmy's statement was false. He said he had cleaned his room, and mom's hypothesis was true. Timmy did not clean his room. She has the clear evidence. On the other hand, we also now have evidence that Billy's statement was true, and mom's hypothesis was false. Billy is just a little angel, isn't he? So the basic rule in entrepreneurship is you know something is a fact when you have proof or evidence to back it up. The important message here is facts are backed up by something you actually see or experience yourself. You don't rely on what someone else is telling you. What people think or tell you verbally can often be misunderstood or misinterpreted and don't count as facts. So let's test our understanding of what a fact is. The statement we're evaluating is the garbage needs to be taken out. Is this a fact? What's the evidence? Is the statement the room is neat and tidy a fact? Once again, the evidence indicates it's not a fact. The lawn needs some tender loving care. Is this a fact? The evidence here is pretty clear. The evidence helps you determine if you have facts that you're working with. Facts help you make better decisions. So let's finish up today's video using an example of the importance of making decisions based on facts during your entrepreneurial journey. Sam and Miguel are creating a new video game. Sam is in charge of developing the game software, and Miguel is in charge of sales and marketing. When they finish building the game, they arrange to have it launched at their local store. Sam asks Miguel, "Did the customers like the game?" Miguel answers, "Oh, they'll come back tomorrow and buy." Let's think about this. What is a fact and what is not? Well, Miguel could obviously see that people are mostly thinking about, but not buying the game yet. So the fact is, the game is not selling, but he tells Sam they'll come back tomorrow to buy. Is this a fact? Of course not. It's an assumption, a thought. In other words, a hypothesis that Miguel is making, but it is certainly not a fact. So, based on the facts that you see here, should Sam and Miguel invest time and money to build more games to sell at this stage? What's the evidence? What do you think? So let's take a different situation. Sam asked Miguel the same question. Did the customers like the game? This time, Miguel answers, they bought all of our inventory. So, is this statement a fact? Where's the evidence? Let's ask the same question as before. Should Samuel and Miguel invest time and money to build more games at this stage? What do you think? So, what's the important lesson for aspiring entrepreneurs to take away from this video? Don't start spending money or taking a lot of time building a product or service for customers until you have some hard evidence that the facts support making this important decision. We started off this video saying, let's talk about facts versus hypotheses, but we said very little about hypotheses. The next and final part of our Failing Forward series will go into plenty of detail about what we mean when we talk about hypotheses. Understanding what hypotheses are is really important because coming up with great hypotheses and knowing how to use them correctly can lead you on the path of creating wow value propositions that will delight your customers. See you then.